I'm gonna put that in the video. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Suburban Homesteader. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 4 different trellising systems that I'm going to be using to grow tomatoes this season. I'm so excited. 3 of them I've done before. 1 of them is a totally new system. So I'm really keen to see what is my most favourite way of growing tomatoes. I'm also growing quite a few different varieties this time around too. Some of them I grow every year. They're my most favourite varieties, and I'll show exactly which ones in a moment, and also why. But I'm trialling up to 9 different varieties, so I'm really keen to see which ones are going to be the standouts this season and which ones will really be my favourites, for both for bottling sauces, passatas, pizza sauces, tomato sauces, but also for salad sandwiches, etc. So I'm really keen. I'm also going to be sharing with you how I actually plant the tomatoes as well. There's 2 methods in particular that I'm using. One that I've used many times in the past with good results. Another one is a new way of planting. So I'm going to be sharing that with you as well. So stay tuned. Alright, so this is going to be the string down method that we're going to be growing some tomatoes here. But essentially we've got these are 2.4 meter star pickets that I pile drived in. So I had to get them in the ground. They're probably about 40 centimeters, I would say, in the ground. Just something stable enough. Now the idea is to have a horizontal beam or something that you're using across. Some people might use a greenhouse or something, and they might have the ceiling beams that they might use. But the idea is you have a string at the top and it'll come down. You'll tie it, or I normally tie it on the tomato, but you could use anything that you have. And the idea is there's 2 methods. There's one where you wind up the tomato up the string. This is a safety hook. As the tomato grows and you want it to keep growing, you would unhook or unloop some of the string, and it'll actually slope down and droop down. So rather than going straight up, it will come down on an angle as you loosen the string, and it will continue up, so you're continually getting more tomatoes. What we use is just some PVC pipe with some T-joint, and it worked quite well to try and stabilize it, because if you were just to put, I'm going to use your height here, Hamish, if you were just to pop it up there, if you were to have one on the other side, it's quite unstable. So we've come up with a little bit of a MacGyver. We've just got some more PVC pipe to match that the size of that T-joint, and we're just going to use that to stabilize the vertical side of things, so it doesn't have as much sway. So you do have to lift it up, because the star picket does take up space. And this is a 3 meter long PVC pipe. So technically, if you had a bigger bed, you could have the 3 meters, and just to stabilize, because obviously it's going to bend here, and that's what we've used these vertical PVCs for. I guess you also could set up another star picket and have one in the middle if it was longer. Like, you could have 3 meters and just cut the ends. So that could be an option as well if you had a longer bed. Our bed's about 2.4. So here it is. It's just a T-elbow with reinforced for stability. And we've just done that on all 4, because we're going to have 2 rows of tomatoes. 1 row here, 1 row here. So the Roma tomato is a determinate variety, so the idea is that it produces all at once, so it's great for sauces and things, which I love making my own sauces like passatas and tomato sauce and pizza sauce. So what I'm going to be doing here, and I would have done it for a few other videos as well, is that I do a deep plant. So ideally I want it roughly in line of where the string's going to be going. I'll just pull back some of that mulch. And I want to try and plant the tomato as deep as possible. So I remove all the bottom leaves, and the idea is that those spots will hopefully form new roots. And it also produces a much stronger tomato as well, because the root system's a lot longer and a lot bigger. So this is the next row that I'm doing. Now, I got these from the local garden nursery. Normally I get them from a local company or local family-owned business. But they didn't have all the ones I wanted. There were so many varieties. So these ones are San Marzinos, and they're supposed to go up to 1.5. So they're really good for a lot of things, eating fresh, preserving, drying, and sauces. So with these ones, because they are a bit longer, I actually want to try a different method, and did get a bit excited. This one's a bit different. I actually picked up a heirloom Periforme Abruzzo, which is an Italian heirloom variety. So I'm going to put that in anyway. Normally I was going to do all 3 San Marzinos, but that's okay. I'll give that new variety a try that I haven't tried before. But these two, they're a bit longer, and I came across a method, I think it was first if I saw it on Gardening Australia maybe, where I think it was Hannah Maloney actually planted it horizontal with the tip showing. I can't remember if she said that was to help with stronger tomatoes or something. But look, I'm going to give it a try, see what the difference is with my deep planting method. So I will be planting these a bit more horizontal, and I think the idea is just, yeah, I'd imagine it's just more of the root system, you know, because as you'll see during the growing season that, you know, it does kind of get aerial roots, especially if it's in contact with the ground. So I'll still plant them similar distances apart. I might plant the other one at the end, and there's 2 San Marzinos together. I kind of want to plant it almost on the surface, so not as deep as the deep planting method I normally use. So I haven't tried this method of growing before, but I'd imagine you just lay it down and then use backfill. I might take that one off and have this part showing, and that's the part that I will string. And the idea is as it grows, obviously it will grow to stretch for light, so it will eventually come upright. It's also known as a granny's throwing tomato because of its juicy and palm-sized fruit. It can be used in home passadas, juices, Bloody Marys, and apparently it's supposed to be an excellent yield. So I'm just going to do the deep planting method for this one. It's a bit smaller, but it's also a different variety. I'll just do that at the end here. So ideally that will stretch up and grow that way a bit more. So previously I've just literally tied a string from A to B. When I've done it before, as the plants grow and get heavier, like it literally did put a big bend. But now that we have these vertical bits, I'm hoping that won't be as much. I don't know if I'll try the side hooks. Maybe I might give them a go on the other row as they get a bit bigger. And I might just do my normal method here for the roamers. So I'm just using a strong jute string here. I'm hoping it's strong enough. I think I might have used a different material one last time. So I'm just tying a knot. I might loop it around a few times. If I need to, I guess I can always tie extra strings to the tomato, especially as it does grow and the leaves offshoot a little bit. Got a bit of a tangle down there. Now I tend to directly tie onto the tomato. Some people tie, sometimes you can use like little clips and stuff. And you might have a stake and you might tie it to the stake, and then the idea with the string method is that you'll just wind the tomato up as it grows, and that's how you support it. So as it's growing, you literally just keep winding the tomato around the string, but you kind of want to tie it off at the base. It's going to have a slight little give in it. Just tie it around the base a few times and up the trunk of the tomato a little bit. I'm not putting it too tight on the tomato. I don't want to choke it as it grows. So you can do whatever knot you want. You can tie it however you want. And then I'll just grow it as it grows. It has a little bit of wriggle room, but it'll literally just grow up the string. Some people might have it a bit more taut. So with this one, for example, you just tie it around and just loop it up. I think one time one of the tomatoes had 2 offshoots right from the base, and I just did 2 strings to tie it up in like a V. So that could be an option too. Literally just wrap it around like that. If it doesn't work, I can always change the method to my other string down method. And the idea is, as it grows, if I wanted to, I can let off the tension. But we'll see. I probably should have planted the San Juaninas a bit more this way, because if I drop them off, they'll be coming up this way, but then I'll probably try and angle them back this way. We'll see. It's all an experiment, but I'm going to hook it up. So I've given it an extra couple of rolls around, so I have a bit more space. Might even lock it off. And the idea is I'll be looping it around on that as well. So as it grows, it will grow this way, then it will grow up a bit more. Alright, so I'm just going to do the same thing on this one. Again, there might be another better way of doing this. I haven't used these hooks before, so there might be a better way. But if it doesn't work, we won't do it next year. Now, that's a good thing as well, is that you can slide these, whereas the other ones you can't really. Now, the idea with the stringing or trellising is to try and reduce like blossom end rot and pests and disease, to try and provide a bit of airflow as well. I think the idea, which I think I've done before, you just pull off all the yellowing leaves at the base once it starts growing, because it just again provides a bit more airflow, especially as the plant gets bigger. Alright, so there you have it. All 6 are in. I'm going to water them in. I'm going to remulch. It definitely needs some new mulch down. But before I do that, I'm going to be doing some interplanting with some basil. So I highly recommend companion planting and trying to maximize the space as much as possible. I'm going to be chucking in some basil as well. Like I said, these crops in the middle will eventually grow as the tomatoes get bigger, especially because you're going to need that airflow. I'm going to chuck some basil in at the ends here. I've got some snow peas growing here on the side at the moment. Obviously, I'll be harvesting them out and pulling them out soon. And I've also got some watermelon seeds in there that I sowed a week or 2 ago. I think it was about a week ago. And the idea is to grow them up and over that archway. So it shouldn't impact this bed too much. Alright everyone, so for whatever reason my video cut out and you did not capture the build of this system. So like I said, this is the seed collection corner brackets. This is what it looks like. This part here is a free end that goes across, so that's the way I've set it up. And I've had all the other pieces where they're locked in at that stage. So the good thing about the seed collection method is these are just hardwood stakes. So it's versatile, you can use them other ways, but they're 25 mil. So 25, 25, 25, 25, and that's what the hardwood stake that you need to fill and use this system. I had enough to do majority of the sides and the top. Just the across bracket here. I'm actually not going to be using this part to grow things off, but you could. So I've actually just used the leftover hardwood stake, which is a little bit shorter or smaller than what I needed to, and I've just cut it in half. The bed here is 1.2 or 1.2-ish, probably slightly longer, by about 2.4. And I've just pretty much grown them right in the middle of the bed. So I'll be having a look at growing the tomatoes along here and here, between 2 strings on either. So I'll put a string here, run it to the other side, come back, run it again to here, and I'm going to try and keep the tomatoes growing up in between those strings. So I've hammered the 4 corner stakes in about 40 centimeters. So my bed's about 20 centimeters high. I've rammed it in about 40 centimeters, so an additional 20. Just like with the star pickets, you want to be mindful of, you know, how deep you are hammering them in. I use the pile driver, but you might want to use a hammer for these because, you know, you don't want to snap them as well. And yeah, so I've run the 4 corners. I've run another 1.8 along here, which fit perfectly. So you just want to make sure that you measure it up correctly when you're setting it up. And then another 1.8 here over here, and then I've just halved. I think it was another 1.8, but it was just smaller. And I've just halved it, and I've just ran it through the ends. So these ends here were all the way through. So you potentially could have a longer stake along here, but I don't want to hit my head on it. Like, I'm only short, but I don't want to hit my head on it. The great thing about this system is, you know, it would probably be really easy to have mesh going over the sides, obviously not having this much sticking out. You know, having mesh going over the sides, you know, so it'll be easy to have shade cloth or netting, because it is smooth on the actual seed, like the bracket itself from seed collection. You could probably easily run it over and down. You could also maybe cable tie some trellis mesh like what we have over here with what we've got the snow peas going on. So you could even cable tie it this way. You can even have it going up this way. You can have a whole system going on, even over the top. Just be mindful of what you're growing. The system's got to actually manage the weight. So I'm not going to be having any strings running down here like I am over here. This is just going to be lining it up in between. So I'm hoping it won't be too bad. I bought this a while ago, just giving it a try for the first time. They're about 30 bucks, I think, online plus delivery. So that's it there. Alright everyone, so I've got some 2 types of tomatoes I'm going to be putting in this bed. One's a determinate variety, one's an indeterminate. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like growing with this method. I'm going to be growing the mini Roma tomatoes. So this one is an indeterminate variety. So they will continue, they're more like a vine, so they will continue to produce all the way through the season. They eat great eating fresh, snacking, cooking. The determinate variety is more of a bush type variety. That's the Roma King Egg. So they're both kind of the Roma varieties, but they can be both indeterminate and determinate, and it just depends on the way they're going to grow. Determinate varieties also produce all at once, which is fantastic. Like, I really like to use them for when I'm doing like passadas, tomato sauces, any kind of, like when I'm using it for sauces. So I tend to grow a lot more of that because I tend to like making more sauces. So I'm going to be putting in some Roma King Egg variety as well, and that will just produce all at once. So I can pick it all at once, can make some sauces, or I can freeze it and then wait for another big batch to come through. Like I said, whereas the mini Roma can produce all the way through, and I can just continually pull off when I need some. So I'm going to be putting both in. I'm going to be doing very similar methods to see what works well with this kind of structure that I haven't used before. One variety, the Roma tomatoes, are a bit bigger. I did buy them as seedlings. I actually bought them today. They're organic seedlings. This one's a lot more advanced than the Roma King Egg ones. So they're going to be a lot smaller. So I'm going to go through my planting method in a second, but I'm just going to clear up some of the bed just to make some way. So I'm going to be harvesting the parsley because I'm going to be dehydrating that to keep in the kitchen, and then yeah, plant them out. So let's go. I will be leaving some things like this kale, the beetroot. I've got some lettuces growing because the tomatoes aren't going to be huge straight off the bat, so I don't mind leaving some stuff in while they grow. Now this little brassica here was a bit of an experiment. I put it in way too late, so I'm going to pull that out and give it to the chickens. Alright, this lettuce I'll probably harvest tonight for dinner. This one's going to come out. Alright, I'm going to pull that basil out. I'm going to be putting some new basil in, but that one just didn't go well and it went to seed really quickly, so I'm going to pull that out as well as this little one here. The chickens love being so close to the garden. It's also one of the reasons why everything's positioned the way it is, to make it easier. With these ones, I'm going to be planting 3 along here, but I'm going to do a deep plant. Just putting back some of the mulch. I'll re-mulch it as well. Now when I'm with this method, because I'm doing a string method, I do want the tomato plant right in the middle. Ideally, I don't want it planted in front, I don't want it planted behind. I kind of want it in line with the 2 hardwood stakes. So how deeply you plant it also depends on how big your plant is. Alright. Do that. And I want to also build it up. Now the common issues that I've previously had with tomatoes is your blossom end rot and like caterpillars and stuff. I've tend to find Roma, like the varieties that I've grown the best have been Roma. I've tried growing like ox hearts and beefsteaks and all different kinds of shapes and sizes, but I tend to find the cherry tomatoes and the Roma by far the best in regards to disease and pests. I'm just tying a knot down low. I like having a little bit of a tail, so I've got something to tie it back onto as well when I come back around. Now you could easily tie it off again here, or you loop it around. I like to go underneath to try and lock it off. And you want it relatively taut. And pretty much the same thing on this side. So that's what it looks like. Some people might leave it like this, especially as they grow. But some people also end up like twining them over. So it's kind of getting across. That helps keep their shape as well. So that's it. That's the string method. The horizontal string method that I'm using. And like I said, as it continues to get taller, I'll add more strings until I reach a height that I'm happy with, which might be to the top of this. I think it's like 1.6 tall. So these are the king egg roamers. Bit more bigger sized tomatoes than the small great ones that the mini roamers are, but they still have a really great flavour. So I'm going to be planting 3 again, but like they are quite small. So I'm going to be taking maybe the 2 bottom leaves off of each of them and probably planting them, maybe even that one there as well. But I'll probably be planting them up to there deep and then seeing how they go. These ones will definitely be too small to do a line on, so I'm not going to do it right now. So I'll be taking off these leaves. Might even take that 3rd one off too and leave that long one. Like I said before, anywhere where you take it off the sides, the roots should reshoot from there too, so it'll actually be stronger. Alright, so I'm going to plant it on this side. So it doesn't matter that these are here. One I'll harvest. When I do harvest, I won't disturb the roots. I'll just chop up the lettuce and stuff off at the base. I won't disturb the roots because I'll probably disturb the roots of the tomato. But the tomato's on this side, so it actually won't be shaded out because the sun comes from that side. So I shouldn't have too many worries. So there we have it. Our 3 king egg tomatoes and our 3 mini roamers. So like I said, the king eggs are way too small at the moment to string up, but as they get taller, I'll string it and I'll start to take more of this away as they get taller as well. But for the meantime, I'm going to try and maximize as much as possible. I might even chuck in some lettuces here because they'll be quick crops. This is the mesh trellis method. We've done this many times before quite successfully. It's literally just hardwood stakes or star pickets with mesh cable tied to it. So normally I grow it, like I set it up horizontally. This time I'm going to do it vertically, just because I'm interplanting with many other things. I've got, capsicums, onions, flowers, zucchinis. So I'm looking at only putting maybe 1 plant per trellis this time. Normally I do 2. I'm going to be doing a couple of seedlings I've got going at the moment. They're not quite ready yet to plant out. One of them is a snow white cherry, and the other one is a red boar. So they're both indeterminate varieties, a bit of a vining type variety. So I think they'll do well here. Now this is a very easy method to grow and trellis tomatoes. Literally as the tomato grows, I just use a bit of twine or something like that to secure it as it grows. One, to support the tomato, but also for the ventilation, for airflow. I do highly recommend getting the big square mesh. Just makes it much more easier to do a bit of maintenance on the tomato as it grows. This is an Apollo tomato, so it is an indeterminate variety that will have that continual producing fruit or tomato. It's quite a medium-sized fruit, and it's good for like salads and stuff. I've only got one of these. This is the one that my son wanted. I'm going to put this one in a pot, so it's a bit of an experiment. I have grown tomatoes in pots before, but they've been more like a cherry tomato varieties. I thought I would had this pot ready to go. I'm going to plant this. I'm going to do a deep plant method again with like I did the in-ground ones. I'm going to take the bottom 2 extra leaves off, really down deep. So this is just some extra soil that I had. I added some perlite as well. So I've planted it deep. I will stake this one, just a light stake. I think I've got a small bamboo stake here somewhere. But I've just got some mesh over here that I might just put around it like a cage. This is the only mesh that I had that had big enough squares. So I'm hoping I can roll it out and then just roll it around it and just keep it as it is and not have to actually tie it off. I managed to do the rest. previously had like really big ones that I got from someone that was throwing them away. They were actually quite tall. So I might even need to add an extra layer to this because it can get up to 2.5. But they were huge and they had big squares. But in between our moves, we just hoed them. Take it, and then I'd have some twine here to tie it. You can also get tomato cages that are specific for this purpose of container growing. So if you didn't have any mesh lying around, you know, you can definitely get something like that to grow in the exact same way. Done. I'm just gonna leave it like that. So I'll just move it into a slightly better position. I'll mulch it, I'll water them in, make sure. Obviously pots will need a bit more watering because they dry out a lot quicker. But you can definitely container grow. There's nothing wrong with container growing. The beauty about this method is that it's so easy to set up. It's great for small spaces. You can put it on balconies, courtyards, etc. You don't need in-ground beds for this method. And the cage provides all the support it needs, so there's no twining like the other methods. So there we have it, everyone. 4 different trellising methods, 3 ways to plant the tomatoes, and up to 9 different varieties. So thank you for watching. Please, you know, if you've used these methods before, let me know how you went with them. Have you tried these methods before? Is there any other way that you're doing your tomatoes? What varieties are you growing this season? I'm really keen to know what others are growing. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel, the Suburban Homesteader AUS. We also have an Instagram page, so the Suburban Homesteader AUS. There we share a bit more daily updates and progress, so please head over to that platform and follow us there as well. Thanks for watching and happy growing.